Good morning, New Vision Center. Good morning. My name is Reverend Leslie Goodwin. I'm your Associate Minister here at New Vision Center, and I want to share my welcome to everyone who is here for the first time in a long time, and that includes everyone participating online through YouTube on our online campus. And I want to give my welcome to everybody who's here for the 7 millionth time, for the people who come every single Sunday, because we deserve to be celebrated too, right? And you may have picked up from that song from Riley and the Divine Groove that we are talking about happiness today. One of the things we really like to anchor into during the summers is this idea of the summer of joy. Remember 2020 when we had advantageously scheduled the summer of joy? And boy, did we need it that summer. And so every year we've tried to touch back in, created this tradition of thinking about joyfulness and happiness in the summer, because those of us who are participating in the Southwest, we get hot. And so I visited this book that has been a favorite of mine for a long time. Haven't talked from this book for quite some time, called Happy for No Reason. It came out in the early 2000s from Marci Shimoff. And it is a book that is what we would consider mainstream self-help. Pop psychology. There's a TikTok sound that goes around. It's about witchcraft, but I think that it works for science of mind too. Do I believe in science of mind? Yes. Do I believe that most of it is spicy psychology? Yes. And it's super fun when we find this crossover between what we teach here and our connection to what we would call the divine of our understanding, and psychology and self-help and all these other mainstream modalities that we're all talking about the same thing from different perspectives. So I went right to chapter 2, and I stole my talk title right out of the chapter title for chapter 2, which is Practicing Happiness. Because when I have beloved folks come to me, and this happens really often, and they say, I just want to be happy. That's all I want. I don't need $1 million. I don't need to have the perfect life. I just want to be happy. Where we often get stuck is this idea that happiness is a state of being that is achieved. And I'm going to agree with my friend Marci here that maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a state of being. Maybe it's a practice that we anchor into in order to express the divine quality of joy that is already built into us. Now, there are advantages and there are challenges to looking at happiness this way. So the first thing we want to look at is our paths for the day. So we've been playing this game all year long that every path leads home. Every possible path we could take in life is leading back into the center of our own beingness, which is that place where we connect with indwelling spirit. And everything we could possibly do is walking us there, to the center of the truth of who we are. Some paths are longer. I've taken a couple of really long paths. Y'all can relate? And some paths are a little bit more direct, but everything will get us there because there's nowhere else to be. And so this particular message, we're honing in on commitment, on personal responsibility, and on forgiveness. 3 paths that we walk that can move us closer to our truth. So it's not a surprise to me that we get confused about what happiness is. I mean, it is built into our culture, right? It's promised in the very Declaration of Independence itself, written by Thomas Jefferson in the 1700s, that we are entitled to the pursuit, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So it's no wonder that it is built into our culture that we are chasing that happiness. We are pursuing that happiness like it is a bat out of hell trying to get away from us. Come to me, happiness. I need you, right? However, you guys know me in words, right? I love to break down a word, and how not surprising it was to me when I found out that in the 1700s, to pursue did not mean to chase. It didn't even really mean to seek. It meant to practice that activity, to do it regularly, to make a habit of it. Ooh, all of us together. Ooh, yes. So here we are all chasing the elusive happiness when really we're being invited by one of the founding documents of the nation itself to anchor into, to choose to behave as, to practice happiness. Indeed. So what do we do with that? Psychology tells us that 90% of behavior is habitual. 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 90% of our behavior is coming off of what we have anchored as habit. So this is good news for some of us. If you are someone who has known in your head, your very, very smart, intellectual, brainy brain of a head, that you should be doing something different, experiencing something different, having something different, and then your behavior did not change, and your experience did not change, take a nice deep breath. It's not your fault. Just knowing it was never going to translate into showing up differently. So you didn't do it wrong. So we can shake that off, can let go of any fear of trying something new because it didn't work the other time. We let it go, and we open up to this idea of what if I actively practiced and build habits of happiness. When it becomes habitual, 90% of our behavior is coming out of that habituality, that habitualized choice, right? So then it starts happening even when we're not intentionally chasing it. Imagine a world where what you wanted came to you without chasing it. That feels so restful. It feels so peaceful. It feels so joyful. So that is what we seek. That's what we're playing with today as we are practicing our happiness. Now, in order to make something habitual, we have to do two things. We have to weaken the neural network, the brain pattern that has led us in the old direction, and we have to strengthen a new pattern that will lead us in the new direction, right? In order to weaken a neural network we no longer want to utilize anymore, we have to do a couple things. We have to change how we approach that topic, and we have to notice when we have forgotten that we changed the way we were approaching that topic and redirect. So there are two myths that are pointed out in this book, two myths that we have to decide we're done with. You with me? The first myth is the myth of more. We know this one. I'm going to be so much happier when I have more money, more stuff, better boyfriend, bigger job, blah, 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 blah. More. I want more. How many people have laughed at money can't buy love or money can't buy happiness? I know I, for one, have been like, oh, but it can buy a lot of comfort, and I'm real comfortable with that. Nothing at all wrong with wanting more. The problem is when we hinge our attachment to this idea of I will be happy if I have more. I will be happy when I have more. Will we? Will we? Studies show that more than, let me get my statistic correct, 40% of people on the Forbes wealthiest list, 40% self-rate themselves as less happy than the average American. Same study. Once personal wealth exceeds $75,000, additional wealth does not statistically increase happiness. Now, this is an amalgam, right? We put everybody into a pot, so I'm sure that there are some very, very happy rich people. And yay for them. But I'm willing to bet that the richness is not what made them happy. I'm actually willing to bet that the happiness is what made them rich. Yeah. Right? More more isn't going to get us the more we think it will. The other myth is the myth of I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I lose weight. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I get divorced. I'll be happy when I get the job. I'll be happy when I quit the job. I'll be happy when I get the other job. That's not how it works either. Wouldn't it be neat if it did, if we could just hinge our happiness to some external event that we don't have to take any responsibility for at all? Wouldn't that be awesome? Totally doesn't work. Darn it, darn it. Ernest Holmes said, no, I'm going to do it differently. Marci Shimoff, this author, she said this way: to become happier, we have to snap out of the trance that our happiness rests in more and better, which we'll get to someday. And how does that relate to science of mind? Because we know that the only thing we're ever actually experiencing is the now. We're only ever experiencing the now moment. We can only be happy in the now moment. If we attach our concept of happiness to the later, we will literally never get it. This is why we don't use future tense in spiritual mind treatment. If we place our good beyond the now moment, we will never experience it. So when we let go of more and we let go of when, then we have to take a breath, because we just really let go of pretty much everything culture ever taught us about how to be happy, and we have to start over. Feel free to start over while I take this drink. So, the good news is the same wonderful book gave us 3 guiding principles, and of course they're completely different than science of mind teaching. Right? Because truth is truth is truth is truth is truth wherever you find it. And over we find the exact same truths being shared in what? Every faith tradition, every philosophy, every source of wisdom, every awesome New York Times best-selling pop psychology book. All of them. We're all talking about the same thing, which is wonderful. And so the first principle that she gives us is what expands makes you happier. What expands makes you happier. So let's look at it through the lens of how Ernest Holmes might say this. This is from Living Without Fear. He writes, there's an inner urge in our own minds to grow, to expand, to break down the barriers of previous limitations, and to ever widen our experience. It's a natural, inherent desire to expand, to express, to be more. So I invite you to join me in a process. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze and just take a nice breath and allow yourself to relax into this process. Relax your shoulders. Let your face and your jaw soften. Take a nice, deep, slow breath. And think free, open, joyful. And notice the feeling tone in your physical body temple. That is the physical feeling of expansion. And with each breath, it becomes a little bit more open, a little bit more free. And now in this place, I invite you to think of someone you love, admire, and just enjoy the heck out of being around. And let yourself feel that felt presence of that beloved. This is the feeling of expansion. Do your best to memorize this feeling tone. And now as you allow that beloved to leave your consciousness for this moment in time, I invite you to change how your body is behaving in this moment and scrunch up your face really tight and shrug your shoulders in and tighten those muscles and contract your body in as much as you can. And think anxious, tight, agitated. And in this place, I invite you to think of something or someone you're afraid of or are angry with. And just let yourself remember how that feels. This is the feeling tone of contraction, the opposite of expansion. Yes, remember what this feels like so that you can check in with it later. And now, because I love you, we're going to once again open everything up and think free, open, and joyful as we soften those muscles. And when we feel like we're back to our feeling tone of good, we can go ahead and open our eyes and bring our attention back into the space. I couldn't leave you contracted. It's important that we can feel and acknowledge the difference between something that is causing us to feel expansive versus contracted, because we can use this knowledge as part of our decision-making process. There are two ways we can approach this. The first one is we can use the awareness to make decisions like a GPS. You know, should I do the thing? Should I go on the trip? Ooh, check in with my body tempo. I'm imagining myself on the trip with the people I'm planning my trip with. Am I feeling loose, soft, relaxed, expansive? Am I feeling fearful, tight, constrained, constricted? Well, that tells us a lot about what our soul wants us to do, right? If we follow that inner guidance, life gets a lot easier. The second thing is we can then use this knowledge to consciously think expansive thoughts. If a thought wanders through and we're going, you ever have that thought? It wanders through and immediately it's like a sponge doesn't have water, like contraction. When we feel ourselves going there, we can stop and think, okay, what did I just think? What wandered through my mind? What is a more expansive way to look at that same thing? Can I soften it a little? Can I give myself a little bit more freedom? Can I give myself a little bit more openness? And what is that doing? Two things. Remember our neural paths? When we notice, I'm in contraction, we're pulling back from this path. And then when we choose to think a more open, contracted, loose thing, or make a more expansive choice, we're strengthening the new neural net. See what's happening? This road is becoming a little filled with weeds now, a little bumpier. Our cows don't want to go down that road anymore. Cows are lazy. They will not go down a difficult road. Our thoughts are the same way. And as this road gets more established, we've got a freeway going towards this more happy place. What expands you makes you happier. Guiding principle number 2, the universe is out to support you. Oh, thank goodness they told us. I've never heard this. Of course, we know that in Science of Mind, we would say it in the words of Ernest Holmes, the universe is conspiring for your good. The entire universe is conspiring for our good. Now, does it always feel that way every single moment, all the time? No. Well, that's not fair. The trick is to know this truth so deeply that we can trust it is true when life looks the way we want it to look and when it doesn't. And, you know, I know we've talked about it a couple of times recently, but I just walked out such an amazing example of the universe conspiring for my good in a way that did not look like it in the moment. And I'm talking about the Bali trip. Remember my passport, my not in my hand passport, my epically delayed passport that did not allow me to take the trip to Bali? And I remember I stood right here, literally right here, and I said, if that was my trip to take, I'd have a passport in my hand, and I don't, right? That's me trusting that the universe is conspiring for my good. But boy, was I curious how the universe was going to show me it was for my good. Until day 2 of the trip, when our beloved friend entered hospice. And I realized, I was really needed here, and I needed me to be here. I would not have been okay if I had missed the end of my friend Heather's life because I was in Bali. I needed to be here. The universe was conspiring for my good. And boy, did we all have conversations in the lobby about how the universe better show about how, because as a community, we were all mildly annoyed by the whole thing, right? We always are when things don't go the way our friends want. And truth is truth is truth is truth is truth. If the universe is conspiring for our good, sometimes it's conspiring for it all the time. And we get to find out sometimes that even when we didn't get what we want, we got what was for our good on a level we could not have predicted and we could not have claimed. Remembering that the universe is out to support us does two things. It allows us to stop resisting what is. Stop resisting what is. And it allows us to stop wasting energy on regretting things that did or did not happen. It pulls our energy back from those wasted energies and allows us to utilize it on joy, on peace, on love, on the things that we want. The universe is out to support you. Guiding principle number 3, our final one, what you appreciate, appreciates. Isn't that cute? I love a play on words. What you appreciate, appreciates. What you show gratitude for increases in your life. We call this the law of circulation in Science of Mind. Like I said, there's not a single new word in that book that doesn't translate directly into Science of Mind. It's just fun to see it put in new ways. Gratitude primes the pump that brings the flow. Now, feeling gratitude primes the pump, but you know what primes it even better? Expressing gratitude. Saying it, sharing it, writing letters, journaling about it, doing things that actively express your gratitude supports your recognition of good, and what you appreciate appreciates. So she gives us a secret formula, and I love this. This little secret formula for appreciating is better than anything I've heard in Science of Mind. And I'm about to go to a Silmar, so that's a bold thing to say, because I'm about to hang out with a bunch of ministers. Her secret formula is this: intention, attention, no tension. Set the intention for what you want. Pay attention to how you are engaging with it and how you're being grateful for it. And then, no tension. We don't hold on to it. We're not chasing. Right, I'll chase you, Buzz, but I'm not chasing happiness. Relax, release, trust that the universe is supporting us, and it's all coming now. Through gratitude, it's all coming now. What we appreciate, appreciates. This is the formula. We let go of the things that the culture has told us is the only way to accomplish happiness. What a weird phrase. And we remember what we always knew. The universe is supporting us. What we focus on increases. What we appreciate expands, and what expands makes us happier. And all of those processes are building the habit that allows us to anchor in so completely on the joy that was already there because it was built into us by the divinity that brought us forth, that we don't have to chase it. We don't have to make it happen. We just have to let ourselves see it and build the habits that allow us to push out any old thoughts, behaviors, or ideas that ever felt like they blocked it, and embrace the habits, the gratitude, the loving kindness that lets us feel that joy as what we would call happiness wherever we are and whatever is going on. So our invitation this week and ongoing is to build the habits. Build the habits. Practice the activities that anchor happiness, because happiness is a practice. And so it is. Let's anchor that in with some prayer. How good it is to remember that joy is always right where we are. That infinite spirit as the source of all things, God, the divine, whatever name we choose, infinite intelligence is operating in, through, and as everyone within the sound of my voice, and indeed every sentient being everywhere, as loving kindness, as infinite joy, as flowing gratitude, as manifesting anything that we seek that is for the good. That whatever was on our hearts and minds as we entered this sanctuary, this online campus, that Spirit is already on it. That the entire universe is in fact conspiring for our good. That it is Spirit's good pleasure that we be happy, fulfilled, joyous, generous, healthy. That every good thing is ours right here, right now. And so with a grateful heart, I just know that each one of us is cared for, right where we are, right as we are, and I call it all delightful and good. We claim it in absolute gratitude as we say together, and so it is.